everyone, and welcome back to another episode, finally, of the Mind and Muse podcast. I am Caroline, your host, and as usual, I am presenting to you my crafty side of the universe, the crafty side of my life here on YouTube, coming to you from Aguada, Puerto Rico, which is a small town on the western side of the island in the Caribbean, and today is Thursday, August 29th, and believe it or not, it is almost midday. Yes, I got up with the purpose of recording this podcast today, but I did have other things to do. First of all, I had to make a trip to the post office and another trip to the supermarket, which is something that I really hate. And so it's not until now that I got around to sitting down and organizing myself and trying to get this done. And trying to get this done in as little time as possible because it's pretty hot here. It's pretty hot here right now. And so let's move on. Let's not keep on with this business and let's move on. First of all, I guess it falls under administrative business. I owe you a giveaway, a winner for the giveaway. And actually, I am going to have two winners. I split the prize because some of the people that left comments on the last podcast, there were 35 people who left comments. There were a few more comments, but some people forgot to leave part of their message and added it later on. So there are only 35 comments from different people, and some of them had different forms of communication. Some people had their Gmail, not their Gmail, but just their email address. Other people did leave me their Instagram name or their Ravelry username. The important thing about leaving the Ravelry username was that we were gifted a free pattern, the Key Largo pattern, Key Largo wrap, I believe it's called. It's a shawl pattern from Hannah of the Cozy Cottage Crochet. I hope I'm saying that right. Hi Hannah, if you're watching, and thank you so much for gifting us a pattern that we could share with our viewers. And the pattern is on Ravelry, so it was most appropriate for her to be able to just send that directly to your library on Ravelry. So I split the prize. Those prizes going through the post office, regular mail, will be sent to one person, and the prizes going through to for the pattern will be sent to Ravelry. So I chose somebody who had a Ravelry name. Anyway, I have two winners. For the first winner, here is Charlene Chapman. Charlene Chapman left me her email address so I can communicate with her. So I will be contacting you, Charlene, through email so that I can get your address information and I can ship that small prize out to you. If I don't hear back from you before the next podcast, well then I will choose a new winner. That's the way it goes usually around here. So the second winner is Ashley of Ash Love Makes. I indirectly know Ashley because I watch her podcast. She has a podcast on YouTube. She is a compatriota. She is also a Puerto Rican crafter, though she is right now resides in the States, whereas I still reside on the island. And so we have had some comments back and forth. So yay, congratulations, Ashley. You have won the pattern from Hannah, the shawl pattern from Hannah of the Cozy Cottage Crochet, and I will just pass your information on to her and she will send you that directly to your Ravelry library. So for the time being, move on and let's talk about good old crafty stuff. Here we go. Things that I can share with you. First of all, there's usually a segment at the beginning of this podcast where we talk about what I'm wearing. And once again, I am wearing the collar, the last collar that I created. If you remember, the last time I showed it to you, it was in a lime green, and it's still there on the back of my mannequin. If you can, I don't know, see it from there. I don't know how well you can appreciate it. This is the second trial that I made. I made it in white using, here's our drops, Bell Unicolor. Well, obviously the color is white. I don't know if it has it's only got a color one. Color one, it says. So this was purchased for a different project, if you'll remember, but it turned out to be too thin. Well, I don't know if you remember, because I mentioned the project, but I didn't probably mention the name of the yarn that I was going to use. But it was a cardigan from a magazine. I did need a mixture of cotton, viscose, linen, but this one was too thin, so I have to repurpose it. Actually, I'm thinking about just leaving it and using it for that same cardigan that I showed you, but I am going to double it up with another yarn, because I didn't buy enough of this to double this one up, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to double up with another white cotton and see how it goes. So this is 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. So that's what I used for this. I did not use this one double. And the little beads are Swarovski Bicons. And so it's got a little sheen to it, shines up a little bit, which I think is okay. It's nice for day wear life because it's not too much shine, but it could be used for evening wear also because it does have that little bit of glamour to it. So that pattern has been up since my last podcast. Somewhere in between, I got it up on my blog. So you can go to the blog and read the latest post that is on there. It's a post about collars. The last post, there's a link to, I probably shouldn't say that because that way you won't read it. But anyway, the last post is a link to the collar, or you might be able to get to that, to the page, but I can't remember the name right now. It's probably, you can actually see the title of the page on the top and just click on it and go directly. Well, I'm not sure, but you can get it through that first post if you look and read through the article and go to the end, and you'll see the link. So if you're interested, if you like collars like me, if you think, oh yeah, I like it, but I think I can make it better in some way, well, you let me know and we'll cooperate that way and we'll make it a better pattern between us. Enjoy. So I do have finished makes, even though I was resting for the first couple of weeks. Remember that I was working on my cotton socks, another test for the sock along that is going to occur this September, starting on the 29th of September. And I have been like teasing you with this forever, but it's just my first time writing out a pattern, and it's not actually teasing. I've been sharing with you my successes and my now know so much successes, and the experience of writing something up. And as if you've listened to my podcast, well, I've been dragging you along in this because writing up a pattern can drag you along because of the fact that there's so much to think about when you're trying to write something down and explain it to somebody else. So moving on to my makes, I am going to talk first about my finished objects because I did finish quite a few things, even though I was resting the first couple of weeks anyway. I did finish these socks that I have a yarn ball in my hand that just came unraveled. I'm sorry. Okay, so I finished these. These are my sweet crochet socks, probably the second or third version. The pattern will include options for different cuffs. So this is the ruffled cuff. Let's see if I can get that one closer. It's all crocheted, this one. No knitting on this one. And so I haven't worn them. They are blocked. I haven't worn them to see how durable that yarn is, to be able to share with you if that yarn is a good choice or not. So that'll have to happen in the future as it gets cooler and I start wearing socks again. But yeah, these are complete. I also completed my knitted socks. Here they are. This is my first pair of knitted socks, the socks that I made following Sockmatitian's sock recipe. It's just what they call a vanilla sock. It's got no special stitches on it. It does have what they call a short row heel. It wasn't too hard. I think I would do it again. And I do hope to be able to make another pair of socks, because actually from this 100-gram skein, I had 45 grams left over. I wanted to use it all, but I don't know. I didn't want to make the socks too long, I guess. So they're blocked and nice and soft. And this is a, what they call, I believe it's an 80-20-10, because it's merino cashmere nylon. And so, yes, I did not make a contrasting heel, toe, and cuff, even though when I purchased this kit to make this sock, it included, Kayleen included an option for that. But since it was my first time making knit socks, I didn't want to go that far. Maybe on my next one, maybe on my next ones. But I'm very happy to have accomplished that goal this year of being able to knit a pair of socks. I don't know if I will be able to ever knit a pair again. I don't know if I remember even how to do these. I don't know if I'll up the courage to start again from the beginning, but I think so. I have a lot of yarn, a lot of sock yarn, and it needs to be made up, even though this is not a very quick option for me. But yes, there are a couple of holes. They are. They're not perfect socks. Wait, there was one specific place where I was going to show you that it was totally obvious that a stitch had been dropped and I had picked it up incorrectly. So yeah, I think it's here. And you see that yellow in between all that blue? That was because I dropped the stitch and I picked up the wrong thread when I went to pick up the stitch. So yeah, those things happen. But I got socks. Okay, I think those are my finished objects. Well, actually, I have a third finished object that I wasn't even thinking about it when we shared the last time. But shortly after I began my resting period, there was a call for testers published on Instagram by Addydae, Deanne of the Addydae Designs. And she also has a podcast. And so I said, oh, you know, I didn't even think about the fact that I was in resting. And I said, well, yeah, let me write her and see if she needs somebody for one of the smaller sizes. She was asking for, she said she was going to give preference to people that had already done testing for her. So I figured, well, you know, I haven't done testing for anybody. She might not want to give me that chance. So, well, I did not think she was going to say yes to me, but she did. And so she has this, it's not, I don't know how much of a secret it is yet, so I'm not going to show it. That's why I'm not wearing it today. But she has talked about it on her, she has posted about it on her Instagram. She has talked about it on her podcast. And she was even wearing it on her last podcast. And she has published several pictures of her wearing it at different events. So it's not like a total secret, but respecting the fact that some of the testers have not finished, have not gotten all of their feedback back to her, and she may still make changes. I'm not going to show the finished version, but I will show you the yarn I used. It was a garment. It was a top, a sweater. They're at the moment, she is from Australia, so at the moment they are finishing their winter. And I chose, I mean, she suggested obviously wool, as would anybody. I mean, wool makes great jumpers. But since I live on Puerto Rico, a Caribbean island, and it's very hot here most of the year, a little bit cool during the Christmas season, where we can actually get some temperatures where you need to put on a sweater or you need to put on long sleeves or long pants. And so, and I do visit the States, so I could have done it in a wool. But I just chose this yarn. It's baby bamboo. It had to be DK. This is 80% bamboo and 20% wool. Still got the wool in it because she said it had to be a wool blend. But I think a blend with a larger amount of wool in it would have been better. I think I would have loved it if I had chosen a wool silk blend, and I'm still tempted to choose a 50-50 wool silk and see, because sometimes wool is not as hot as you would think, especially the thinner, but you know, obviously it's not, I can't walk around in a wool sweater here. Not, sometimes at work in the air conditioning you can, but not, you know, not on the way to work, it would be a hassle. So I did choose this yarn knowing that it's bamboo, and bamboo stretches quite a bunch. So I ended up doing the smallest size that she had, which is the extra small. And so though I won't show you the finished version, I will show you a piece of it. This is a part of it. And so you can see how that worked up. It's very soft and mushy and very heavy and drapey. And so the color is maybe not my color. I don't know. It's an orangey yellow. It's not actually a mustard. It's called Sunny, I believe. It has a color here, but if I remember, it's called Sunny. When you order it, a name shows up. So this one doesn't show the name. It just says color 101. But I'm pretty sure it had something to do with that. So it might not be, I don't know. We'll see. Once Deanne gives us sets us free and tells me that I'm able to share it with you, I'll wear it to one of my future podcasts and you'll tell me. Because I know that there's somebody very dear to me who is waiting to be gifted this. So if I can't use it, I'm pretty sure I know somebody who can. There, you can see there's a whole ball here. I actually bought extra because this did not have the same yardage, even though it was a DK, as the wool that the designer was using in her original version. So I bought extra just in case, but I do have about almost 150 grams left over because I bought extra. But it was on a super sale, and so yeah. I don't regret buying the yarn. I might have preferred to have made this in a wool because I'm sure it would, it's just a terrific design. You all see when it comes out, it's just terrific. But this one looks okay and it feels nice. It's nice and soft. So, and actually I can feel the wool in it more than I expected. It does, if it gets a little hot, it will get itchy. And so, well, all in all, I finished it. And because actually she told us at the beginning when she was asking for testers that she wanted to try and get it finished within a month. So, you know, I practically didn't work on anything except that for a while. So, yeah, that's why I was able to get it done. When you work on garments 24/7, well, you know, I didn't work on them all the, again, I was recovering and so I was resting. So, but the time that I did dedicate it all to that, and so I worked basically on no other crochet. I did work a little bit on my knitting, and you'll recall that I was working at the point of the last podcast on my projects for the Summer of Romance Cowl, which is now obviously ended. It ended at the end of July? No, mid-August, maybe August 15th. I don't remember. It ended. And so I was working on the Sherlock scarf. And I just wanted to show you that I did, once I was finished with the testing, I did continue to work on it. And so it has grown, okay? It is now about 4 feet long. And so it had three of these moss stitch sections, and then garter stitch, moss stitch. This is one complete section. It had 3 of those, and now it has 7. So I am closer to finish. It is supposed to have 9 of those repeats and then fringe at the bottom, but I am closer to finish. I know it's not like this gorgeous thing. It's not an exciting make because the colors are blah, and it's all one solid color, and it's, even though the stitches change, it's not something that you can easily appreciate from a distance. You kind of need to be close up, and the lighting is funny here. But it was an experience in in perseverance, and it also was, I mean, I didn't realize at the moment, if I had realized what I was getting myself into at the moment, I would have switched the stitches around, and I would have done 40 rows of garter stitch and only 20 rows of moss, because the moss stitch makes me very slow, because it is basically a ribbing. In a ribbing, you align. First of all, you're interchanging a knit with a purl, and so when you do a rib, you align your knits and align your purls, so that creates the rib. When you do a moss stitch, you just disalign, you unalign, you have a purl on top of a knit, on top of a purl, on top of a knit, and so that creates the little bumps, the bumps that are moss stitch. And so, that's slow. Though I think I've gotten a little faster, it's slow. So, hindsight, right? If I would do this again, I would have switched the stitches, because I would have gotten it done. It would have been done by now, because 20 rows, 40 rows even of garter doesn't take long. In less than an hour, that's done. So yeah, anyway, at some point in the near future, hopefully, unless I abandon it, because when you get bored with things, sometimes just do that, put that in a naughty corner, not because they've been naughty, but because you just got tired of being around them but unfinished things bother me, so hopefully I'll be able to get that done. The rest of what I've been up to has basically been felting, because it's something that I do need to sit, so I couldn't sit in the same place for too long. And I do have a tendency of felting for a long time also, because it is, when you felt, time goes by so easily. I mean, you just don't even realize the time that has gone by, because it's a totally, especially the needle felting, the wool painting, because you're creating a painting. And when you're creating a painting, you're so concentrated on what you're seeing that you want to recreate, the time just flies by. The time just flies by. So I worked on 2 felting projects majorly. I can't think of anything else right now, but I might have slipped something else in there. And one of them I am very, very happy with, which is this one. It started out being, you know, one of those felting bags that Clarissa Beth was going to turn into a project bag. And it ended up being a hoop design, a hoop art, where I am going to decorate. This is a 10-inch embroidery hoop. I'm going to decorate it. I just got it, so I was just able to fit it in and realize, yay, it fits. And, but I think I'm finished with the design. It's my mermaid. And so I've incorporated a little bit of seed beads and a couple of metal findings, trying to, you know, work in a mixed media sort of thing. And so it's a mermaid sitting on a rock. I still feel like I would like to embroider maybe a message at the top or down here, and kind of complete it, in addition to in some way decorating the hoop. And this obviously, this not obviously, but this will be a gift. It will be a gift for my daughter, Clarissa Beth, like to hang on the wall in her apartment. And since I have some refining to do, endy bits to do for the hoop and all, you know, I have to hide this and put it back on it. And this is what the back of a felted piece looks like. This is just cotton. And I felted into it initially because I was going to give it to Clarissa to make a bag. But then I stepped back. I said, oh, you know, maybe that would make a nice piece of wool art, because, it, you know, it was pretty enough. I would hang it on my wall. And so I think that's what I'm going to do. Some people recommend, some felters recommend, that when you felt onto fabric like this, that you use very hot water and bits of soap to kind of like wet felt these strays of wool that are coming out of the back, and that they'll tighten up, and they'll, you know, they won't ever come out. And so I may do that to this before I actually finish the back part. But so yeah, it's still a work in progress because I need to finish the decoration. And at some point I was thinking that I might need to do a swap in the future, and I wanted to have wool wall art to share. And so I started working on this piece, which was supposed to be a pasture, a meadow. And in the meadow, I was supposed to have a sheep. And right now I have a silly looking sheep. I'm still working on it because I can't get his expression the way I want it. And he actually looks like my dog a little bit. My dog normally has that expression on his face like I didn't do it when he actually did do it. So this is also a work in project. This is the back, see? And so before I convert it to wool art, I will use very hot water and soap and probably that little bubble wrap, put the bubble wrap on it and just give it a good massage until all of those loose threads, loose fibers tighten up. And so that way I'm sure the person won't lose the art, it won't come out, it won't be pulled. It's not as important for this type of wool art that is not going to be touched. It's not going to, you know, come in contact with human oils or skin oils or anything like that. I guess that type of thing is more important when you're working with, let's say, garments that you are going to felt onto a garment, a design, which is something that I want to do in the future. I guess it's more important there because you don't want the piece to fall off as it's washed and as it comes in contact with the air and with dust and with humans and with pocketbooks and with whatever, with all this human skin oils and all of that. So yeah, it's not so important for this type of wool art. So that's my felting that I have been working on. And I also got into this phase where I wanted to make tiny miniature things. And so I worked on some other projects. I worked on some keychains with, I don't know, I guess these are flip-flops. And so this is a pattern that I found, actually a video pattern. It's a video tutorial that I found on YouTube, so you could go and do it yourself. Also, it was in Portuguese, but Portuguese and Spanish have a lot in common. So since she put subtitles, I was actually able to follow along quite easily. It was not a burden. So here's one of my crochet flip-flop keychains. I made 2 of those, more or less 2, choosing different colors because I think this was the first one and I didn't like the position of this. I don't know, this, wherever that band across it. I thought the other one was better because I kind of put it up a little further and I liked it better. Then I also tried this version of a flip-flop. I was trying to do a superhero flip-flop, I guess. But this one I found that I made these bands too long, the straps of the flip-flop. Or maybe I needed to put them in a different position because it bugs me. I also worked on miniature. I'll put the information in my show notes because I don't actually remember what the YouTube contact is, but I'll write it down and put it in my show notes. I was also working on making a miniature sock using partially the pattern that I wrote up for our sweet crochet socks. And so here's one. And I was also thinking about making these into keychains. Originally, that was my idea. This one this was just with some scrap yarn. It is wool, but it's scrap yarn that I had laying around there. Let's see. This will focus. I tried to make the cuff. It's got a leg. It's got a short row heel in it and a round toe. I actually think it came out pretty good. And I even got the chance to block it because at one point I had purchased from Indigo Chickens on Etsy, and she sells project bags, but she also was selling at one point sock blockers. And so she gifted me this one with my purchase. And it just so happened that this sock, this is actually a keychain, right? But I used it as a sock blocker for this miniature sock. And it just so happened that it fit perfectly. It was just it fit perfectly. And so I thought, how cool is this? I've got a miniature sock blocker, so now I can make miniature socks and actually block them. And who would want to do that and what for? I had no idea. It was just entertaining. I mean, I could do this in less than an hour, so I could sit down, work on it, have something made, and get up to do other things during my resting period. The thing was that I tried it with several yarns. This is a wool 75-25 blend, and this is, I remade it using yarn that was left over from, I don't know if you've seen the podcast for a while, you'll remember the cardigan that I made for Halloween after Maria last year, that I used this yarn called Pumpkin. This is from Nora George, this colorway. And so I made 2 socks. Notice they are a different size because for the one, this one over here, I used the same size crochet hook that I used for the first sock. And so I'll put that up as a comparison. This was 2.75 crochet hook, and so was this. But obviously, even though they're both fingering weights, one yarn is much thinner than the other. In addition, this is merino nylon, and this is BFL, blue face Lester, and so blue face BFL nylon. And so I love making socks with that yarn because I find it is so high twisted and so sturdy, and I really like it a lot. So this one I went up to a size 3 for this yarn because I found this one too small, and I came up with this. These haven't been blocked because they don't fit on my sock blocker, on that tiny sock blocker. So I'd have to, well, I think this one was blocked by hand in the sense that I put it on I washed it, I put it on a blocking mat, and I actually stuck pins into it to try and make it a little bit bigger. But this one wasn't. I gave up on that. So yeah, I've been working with those miniature socks. And at the moment, I am, we're thinking about using those miniature socks to create ornaments for Christmas, because during Christmas I have joined the group hosted by or directed by Melissa of Melissa Dawn Wool Artist. She's got a .com, and you can go to her page, melissadawnwoolartist.com. She's got a podcast on YouTube also, and she's got a store where she was selling her yarn. She's an artist, so she does paintings and drawings, and she sells them. She also does wool painting. She was my master, she was my mentor, the person that I first saw do that type of work, maybe not the first one, but the one that got me enthusiastic about it because she was so willing to share her knowledge and had a way of explaining things where I could actually understand and be able to give it a try. And so Melissa, along with Claudia of the Crochet Luna podcast and Clarissa Beth of the Crochet Cakes podcast. So many crochet podcasts have been coming up as of late. So these ladies have all gotten together to create a 12 Days of Christmas Advent calendar for you. And in that Advent calendar, they will include one project bag made by Crochet Cakes. Believe it's 12 mini skeins that have been hand-dyed by Melissa, who is also a yarn artist. She dyes yarn. And a pin designed by Claudia of the Crochet Luna podcast. Claudia is also an artist. So much talent put together to create this kit for you. And it is going to be available online through, I believe it's Melissa's online store. I'll get back to you on that as the time gets closer. Probably she wants to have them up for a pre-order, maybe beginning of November or even end of October. I don't know. That is usually done early, the pre-orders, and then she'll get them out to you so that you can receive them for the beginning of December, and then have everything ready so that the last 12 days of Christmas, working up to the 25th, you can open up every single day one of those mini skeins and maybe even create something. So it's a lot of fun. And I joined in they're deciding on a price, and I wouldn't want my additional sock to up that price too much. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. But maybe in that Advent calendar set, I'll be able to include a sock. And as I was already thinking about it, I was looking through my stash to see what yarn. This might take. It takes less than 10 grams to do something like this. And so I was looking through my stash to see what could I have that would look Christmassy, because I actually tried to purchase, but when my order came in, they didn't send me the Christmas yarn because they were already sold out. So I found this. I mean, there's no red in it, but there's lots of green. And I don't know if you can appreciate it because the lighting here is not very well, but this has, both of these have stellina in them. Oh yeah, there. It's nice and shining. So they're both nice and shiny. So I was thinking about crocheting up one of these mini socks with a contrasting toe, heel, and cuff, and in that yarn. And I also thought, well, maybe I could use this. Okay, it's got the blues and greens and yellows of, you know, all different colors. It does actually have some very dark green in there that you probably can't appreciate. But I thought about pairing it up with heels, cuffs, and toes in this yellow, which I also don't know if you'd be able to appreciate it here, but it also has stellina in it. Okay, you can see that little bit of shine coming through. And so I thought that looked a little Christmassy. My preference is this one, most because it is a variegated yarn. And this one is self-striping, and I don't know how that's going to work up on such a small sock. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try them both to see what's going to happen, which one of those looks best. And also, I have been thinking about my next project. And the next project that I want to begin is, you're not going to believe this when I say it, but it's a blanket. Well, at least a throw. I believe it's an Afghan throw. But it is a beautiful Afghan throw created by Jess of the Make and Do crew. And most of you have probably seen it around Instagram if you look around there. If not, you can just look her up. If you have a chance on internet, look her up, Make and Do crew. And she publishes on her blog her patterns for free. Of course, they're on the blog. They're not a PDF. They're pasted to the blog page. And so she has sponsors, and they put, every once in a while, they put up their advertisements. If you want an advertisement-free pattern, you can purchase them from her. And I think this one is up on Love Knitting or Love Crochet. It's a site. It's but there's just a click. If you go to makeanddocrew.com, you'll see her pattern is probably the latest one out there. If it's not there immediately, because she usually has her latest pattern up first, then you can just go to patterns and find it. And the throw that I am talking about, the blanket I'm talking about, is one that she created that has a llama. And I'll try to insert a picture here because you have to appreciate this llama. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's a gray background. And then one of the yarns, I didn't realize that this yarn was in a plastic bag when I brought it. So I'm going to do a little bit of crinkling to take it out. I mean, I have to take it out anyway, so I might as well do it now. So it uses this yarn from Lion Brand. And I don't know if you'll be able to appreciate it. My camera is not really a very good one, and the lighting is not all that great. But it's a fuzzy yarn, and she said that it made for the perfect llama fuzz. And so it uses 2 of these, and I've purchased them. I was able to purchase them on Amazon because at the moment, when I went directly to the We Love Knitting, I believe it's We Love Knitting site, where you can purchase the pattern for a very small price, but it will, you know, it's printed. You can print it out and it won't have any ads in it if you prefer to do it that way. And at the time that I went, they didn't have the yarn to make a kit. So you would end up buying one yarn here, one yarn there. So I just purchased it on Amazon. And I'm really, really happy to start that. I'm really, really happy to start that because it's so beautiful. I don't know. It's a corner-to-corner blanket. I don't know how far I'm going to get along with it. You know, I might get tired of doing it, and it might take me forever. But I am going to start it. I am going to start it soon, and I'll see how that goes along. I have never finished a blanket. I made one quilt for a twin bed for my daughter. Oh, maybe 4 or 5 years back. Maybe even more than that. It's probably even more than that. But it was ways back when Clarissa and I first came back into the crochet world. And so, yeah, it was a granny square throw for a twin bed or full bed. I think I made it so it could be like a quilt to cover up a twin bed. But since her bed was full, it was going to be like a duvet or whatever they're called. It's just... But anyway, and that was a long time ago, and since I have never wanted to because I didn't want to deal with the changes in color, with the granny square joining, and the time that it consumes to make a blanket. But I don't know, I just fell in love with this one, so I'm going to give it a try. And so that's going to be my next project, hopefully, once I get all my issues settled and I can actually sit and crochet for a longer period of time. And... before that, well, not before that, but another item on the menu is another collaboration. We talked about the sock along that is going to occur. It's hosted by Faye of the Crochet Circle podcast, and she has invited other podcasts to tag along with her and to also host sock alongs with their viewers. And they're settling the details on who's going to have the finished object thread and who's going to have the chatter thread. And so the details are not all set. We do know that it's beginning the 29th of September. But Clarissabeth and I decided to collaborate. Clarissabeth will be making a sock bag for those who wish to purchase the sock bag. So if you remember when I made my shorty sweet crochet socks, the shorty version, which was in a hot pink, and then the cupcakes had 3 colors, right? They had a filter that was like a camel color, they had the cake that was like the yellow color, and then it was the white for the frosting. Well, we purchased some commercial yarn and wrapped it up into 10-gram balls, and inside the sock bag we're going to include those 3 colors in case you want to imitate the shorty socks that I created by making the sock a solid color and then, or whatever color you choose really, but just we included the 3 colors because you really don't need a lot of it, so we included those 3 colors so you can make the cupcakes if it is your desire. So those sock bags with the yarn, the 30 grams of yarn, will be included on the Crochet Cakes Etsy shop, which is called Dainty by Crochet Cakes. And that should be up shortly, maybe in the upcoming weeks, the beginning weeks of September, so that you can purchase and have everything ready by the 29th so that you can crochet along with us some crochet socks. So I hope that invitation sounds appealing and that you're motivated for this sock along and that you will join us and that you will join all of us that are going to be participating in the sock along. Our podcasters, bloggers, and just people like you and me who want to have fun sharing their ideas, sharing their difficulties, sharing their victories, and just sharing crafting time with a lot of people and knowing that all over the world lots of people are doing the same thing that you are just makes it all much fun. So thank you for joining me today. Thank you for joining me in this spot of the internet and for sharing with me all of these crafty ideas. And remember that you can communicate with me outside of the podcast, and we can make this more like an interactive by communicating with me through Instagram. I have an Instagram account which is inspired_professor everything in lowercase letters. And I also have a Ravelry account, which is inspired, capital I, inspired, capital P, professor, no underscore this time, on Ravelry. There is a email account opened up for this podcast, which is mindandmuse@gmail.com. And you can also visit the blog. You can find free patterns on the blog. I believe I'm going to write up also the free pattern for the mini sock. It is quite easy to write up, and I've thought about it a lot. And hopefully in the future I'll have my scarf pattern written up and to be able to share with you. So you can also visit the blog. Every once in a while, every couple of weeks, I write up a post where I share some of my craftiness with you. And I'm open for your comments so that you can share back with me. That is mindandmuse@weebly.com. I haven't purchased the name yet, so I still have to have Weebly stuck in there, mindandmuse.weebly.com. So there are tons of ways that we can communicate with each other and keep in touch in the in-betweens our podcasts. So take care. It was very nice to come back and talk with you. And so while we meet again, keep yourself safe, keep yourself happy, and keep crafting. Bye for now.